Something that we're very mindful of is the messaging from ownership being one message, one coming from one place. It's never Dan said this, Connor said this. It's always us. So even if there's a disagreement on how something should be done, by the time that message comes out, it's coming from both of us. Connor and I like to say, no pride of authorship. Best idea wins. So we really make every attempt to just take pride and ego out of the equation and just let's focus on what's best.
Welcome everybody to the Family Biz Show. I'm your host, Michael Columbus with Family Wealth and Legacy in Rochester, New York. And today we've got Connor and Dan Sullivan from Bumpa in, I knew I was going to get that wrong, South Carolina, Charleston.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Charleston,
there we go. There we go. I pulled it out. Welcome. So, yeah, you guys are brothers. So obviously that's how the family biz, connection comes in there. What I'd ask, we have a tradition on the show of asking each of you to kind of talk about your journey. What was life before Bumpus? And then how did you guys decide to start this thing? And, and then we'll dive into all of the family stuff and the business stuff, from there. So Dan, do you mind kicking us off?
Sure. So before getting into the bar and restaurant business, I was in finance. I worked for PNC Bank for 12 years in Pittsburgh, which is where we're originally from. And this idea of this bar was sort of always in the back of our minds. And there came a day where I just wasn't feeling fulfilled professionally, and I wanted to give it a shot, do my own thing and do it together. And so Connor and I got serious about a business plan. I moved down here about a year before Connor, and we were looking for the site for our new place, and eventually we found it, and we opened up during the pandemic of 2020. So
nice.
Yeah.
So here we are in the finance world, not running a restaurant bar. And it's like, hey, let's go do this.
Yeah, it was definitely, we're not getting any younger. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what we've got. And we've been I love the business. Connor loves the business. It's been a lot of fun for us.
Nice. Connor, give us your background and journey beforehand.
Not so dissimilar. So I came from a background in corporate real estate and really mostly software sales.
Okay.
At the corporate enterprise level. My wife and I, when we started getting serious about this, we're living in not married at the time, but in New York City. And she's from Richmond, Virginia. She's southern town. Dan was part of the business plan was being in Charleston, South Carolina, where our parents had since relocated. So she had always wanted to move back to a southern city. Dan had been egging me for years to finally execute and start building the bars. So I was like, all right, well, to Dan's point, not getting any younger. The timing seems to be right. The stars aligned. So moved down to Charleston, rolled up our sleeves, and got after it.
Nice. I want to dig into the digging into this and starting this. I don't have more often than not, when the family businesses that have been on the show, they are the founder and the next generation kind of a thing. They're already established. So you guys being, relatively new, I want to, talk about what kind of work went into the strategic plan, the business plan that you guys were putting together. How long were you going through these pieces? What was the process for this?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long process. I'm sorry, I'm slightly distracted. My newborn son is screaming in the next room. I apologize. But yeah, no, it was built over a span of many years. Again, it was a lot of, I was just saying this earlier today, a lot of conversation at, family holidays, like getting together, Thanksgiving, Christmas, putting little pieces together. And before we knew it, we, had the menu written. It's just more or less, I mean, still the foundation of what we use today. And yeah, we built it ourselves, but we had a lot of help. It's definitely a family affair. We've kept it all in the family, but our father was super instrumental in helping us build this thing out as well. And Bumpa, our namesake of our restaurant, is his father. So we might be, first owners and operators, but it still very much is a multi-generational family affair.
I love it. So this is the homage to your grandfather.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a storyteller and loved a good drink. So that was the atmosphere that we wanted to provide to Charleston and our little neighborhood over in the French Quarter.
Nice. Good for you guys. Let's talk about, you've got the business plan in place. What were some of the hassles? What were some of the things? What were some of the obstacles that came up between business plan and opening the doors that maybe surprised you? Or, if you're coaching other business owners that are getting ready to do their thing, what kind of things should they be prepared for?
Well, how much time do you have? Because it was one thing after another. So we started the building project before we had ever heard of the pandemic. And by the time the project was complete and we were ready to open the doors, the city had shut down and we weren't sure what the next steps were going to be.
Right.
Before pandemic, this being our first venture, we really surrounded ourselves with a terrific team of seasoned veterans. They've built restaurants before. Luckily, our contractor was a friend of the family, and he was able to sort of guide us through the process. But renovating a period-specific building, a historic building in Charleston, is not for the faint of heart, and it's probably not something we would ever seek out again. There are many restrictions as to what you can do, and
Especially in Charleston.
yeah, the
Yeah.
architectural review board wants to make sure that you're keeping the history of the building intact. So even if you own the place, it's really up to them how you make it look, at least from the outside perspective. And also the fact that the building is so old, there were a lot of conventional building methods that we weren't allowed to use. We couldn't dig past a certain point with a bulldozer because the foundation only went so far.
The water table's like 2 feet, below where the asphalt is.
Right.
It's crazy. We are right on the water, in Charleston.
Okay.
For future business owners, yeah, I'd whatever budget you have for retrofitting a historic building, I'd say double it, or just build something new in a different place.
Yeah. I think it would have saved us money to do something bespoke, but
Hindsight's 2020.
yeah, the building is fantastic. We won there's a prestigious award in Charleston called the Carolopolis Award for achievements in preservation of historic buildings, and we were the only project in 2020 to win for both exterior and interior. And that's less to do with Connor and I and more to do with the entire team's vision. So we had a terrific architect, terrific contractor, and it came in late and over budget, but the results are really phenomenal. It's just a truly beautiful building to walk into.
Very cool. How old is the building? I'm looking at pictures right now. So if you see me looking up, I had to pull it up and take a peek at it. How old is the building?
At least 1832. We think it's quite a bit older than that. So it is pre-Civil War. The address existed in the late 1700s. We don't know if this building was there, but Charleston's about as old as you get in the United States. So it's really interesting to wrap your head around the fact that this building was around before the Civil War was over.
Very, very cool. If walls could talk, we'd certainly be listening. And of course, we're adding our own pros to that as well. But yeah, to Dan's point, yes, it was over time and over budget, but extremely rewarding to see what.
Very cool. So now you're ready to, for doors open and the city's shut down.
Right. Yeah.
When did you start the hiring process? When did you start pulling, getting ready to open doors, with people and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, great question. So, early 2019, we had hired our management staff. So we had a GM, we had an executive chef, we had a bar manager, we had a sous chef about to come on board, an assistant general manager about to come on board when everything sort of froze up. But, we were in the midst of really starting to, get to opening day. And then, when everything shut down, we had a super sobering meeting with our team, just, in our building, our beautiful new building, new old building. And, we just made the really tough call because even before the actual shutdown, it was like, is it responsible to open right now when there's so much fear and doubt? And then the city made the call for us. So, it's not like it was our decision to make, but that was a really tough day. Thankfully, we qualified for payment protection programs. So we got to keep that core staff afloat for a few months and, gave them some things to chew on, while we were in closure. And then, we really had to make the decision. Do we wait this thing out? Because we had no idea how long it was going to last, or do we bite the bullet? And as soon as we can go, we go. That's the decision we ended up making, the latter, thankfully, because if we had sat on our hands and waited, the business would never have opened at all.
Okay. When was final, the opening day? When did you guys?
June 20th of 2020 was our soft opening, and then the 22nd was open to the public.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a little later than we wanted, but something that we always kind of remember is we didn't have a lot of bad habits to break in terms of COVID precaution when we did open. So something that was very important to us as a new restaurant opening after this pandemic was to make sure people saw how seriously we took cleaning the tables, cleaning the chairs, making sure their safety was accounted for. So we were really, really adamant about making sure our staff was showing everyone what we were doing.
Right. So one of the things that you said earlier that caught my ear was, we had the menu done before we even had our business plan pretty much in place. What is special about Bumpa's menu? I'm dying to hear some of the things that you guys have on there.
That's a good question. And, it's one of the more fun parts of, putting the business together is like putting together this kind of crazy menu. So, I mean, you said it when we were kind of still offline, Michael, but, we are a gastropub. I guess if you had to brand us, we've got the Irish influence. People have called us a sports bar. We don't like to kind of declare one thing over another. And I think our food kind of fits that, or rather blankets, different kinds of cuisine as well. But there was a place in Pittsburgh where we're from originally, or where we grew up anyway, that had these build your own fry plates that we loved and adopted, and said even then, this is probably 10 years ago, if ever we were going to build a restaurant, like a build your own fry plate would have to be, top of mind when people come in. And I think we've accomplished that. One time I, came to visit Dan when I moved away from Pittsburgh and built a fry plate of jalapenos, barbecue sauce, beer cheese, and pickles. And Dan and my sister-in-law were like, this can't be good. But it's on our menu right now today, all these years later. So
after we tasted it, we said, that's going to be on the menu one day. So we were
Get some sweet and get some heat.
yeah.
That's
We were
right.
always thinking.
That is for anybody listening, that's called the condor. I had to pull this up
That's right.
because I'm like, now I'm hungry. And all I had was a salad for lunch, so I'm ready to dig into.
Sorry about that.
That's all good. What are some of the other things that make you unique? I mean, I've never heard of legendary fries before. I'm going to tell you. I thought, I'm in Rochester, New York, which is the home of the garbage plate. Okay. And so the garbage plate has been on television at least, a multitude of times. And when, famous people come in, especially if they have their own show, they're definitely checking out a garbage plate. Definitely worth looking at, but not for nothing. I think I don't want to say this, but I'm going to get slashed in Rochester, but I kind of like the idea of make your own fry plate even better than a garbage plate. So
you could probably recreate it more or less. We've got 40 some toppings, meats, cheeses, vegetables, sauces.
You can put out what you want. I love it. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
The more creative, the more our kitchen likes to put it out.
That's true.
Say that again.
I said the more creative the patrons get when they're creating a fry plate, the better our kitchen enjoys making it. So
that's very
they
cool.
love doing different things. Absolutely.
What are some of the other, things that you have done that are the hallmark of what makes you unique in the marketplace?
First thing comes to mind is Scotch egg. We do a terrific Scotch egg in the traditional fashion. So soft-boiled egg, wrapped in sausage, fried. It's a painstaking process. If it's a busy lunch, we like to make sure the table understands the cook time on these is no joke. So just bear with us and we'll get it out as soon as possible. But it's terrific. It's consistent every time. And fried sausage around a soft-boiled egg. And what else you can ask for? So that's my favorite.
We also, our logo is basically a take off the Sullivan crest. Features a stag and a boar, and we have a stag and boar burger. That is, there you go. If you zoom in or squint, you might be able to see that. But we actually use venison and boar meat and blend it together. It's a pretty decadent burger. But also, from a product and cost perspective, for what you get for all fresh ingredients, locally sourced where possible, we're at a lower price point than a lot of our neighbors, and that's what we want to be, right? We want to be kind of a more accessible sort of neighborhood bar, and again, I think our cuisine speaks to that as well.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about family. You got what's it like working together? You entered this with a business plan of this, vision of what working together was going to be like. Mm-hmm. Give me the, what's working, what's not working. What do you still have, some things to get through, and how do you make, when you're not on the same page, how do you, what's the tiebreaker? How do you do this stuff?
Want to go for it?
Well, it's a great question, Mike. And I would say that in addition to Connor and I complementing each other very well with our skill sets, something that we're very mindful of is the messaging from ownership being one message, one coming from one place. It's never Dan said this, Connor said this. It's always us. So even if there's a disagreement on how something should be done, by the time that message comes out, it's coming from both of us. Connor and I like to say, no pride of authorship. Best idea wins. So we really make every attempt to just take pride and ego out of the equation and just let's focus on what's best. And that's really worked really well. Having that unified message from the two of us is kind of paramount to making sure they know we're on the same page.
Yeah. And I think, going in, we have say like a light line of demarcation or split in duties. Like Dan is, over operations. I'm more on like the financial side. all big decisions of strategy, we work together on. So, that kind of helps too. So we can kind of, we don't have to come together for every single decision. We can
Sure.
work in, I don't want to say the word siloed because that's too much, but that there are decisions that could be made that like the other person isn't going to question, right? Or even necessarily care about. And then if things go south, and this is something we decided on like years ago, just as brothers before we were business partners, is if we're at an impasse and neither of us are going to bend or bow to the other, we have a safety word.
Okay.
When said, you must stand down, no matter what. You can't break it. You just gotta do it.
After a few draft beers, opinions can really start to stick, and it becomes very precious. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that before anything goes in any direction we don't want it to, we nip it in the bud and back off, and at the end of the day, it's two guys trying to do something with the best intentions. So it's always with Bumpa's in mind. And like Connor said, now that we're in year 4, things just sort of happen now. They click into place without the two of us having to do X, Y, or Z. We don't necessarily need to remind each other of our duties, and it's just, it clicks very nicely. And it's been terrific partnership. It's definitely defined what my life looks like, and who to trust better than your own brother. So indeed.
One of my favorite parts about family business. So I was in business with my father. That's what led me to this desire to do this. And we ran separate businesses an awful lot. But we highly respected, what he was doing. I highly respected it. He, as I became more and more attuned, he respected what I was doing because I needed to do things differently than him. And that was a tough pill for him to swallow.
Right.
And we worked through it. And, I got involved in family business groups. And a lot of times, the groups would be like, you just want to come in here because you're a financial advisor and yada, yada. I'm like, no, I'm dealing with my father and I need to hear how other people have gotten through these things. And he's dealing with me and those dynamics, I need to understand some of that stuff. So good on you guys for coming to, some agreements as to how this works. I just finished reading the book Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't know if you've ever read that book. I highly recommend it for anybody in your business, but it's 11 Madison Park, EMP. And they talked about, and I don't remember it specifically, but they had a word between, the front, the dining room manager and the chef that was like, what, one or the other could call that word. And that means, oh, okay. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, you guys are following in good footsteps, and you didn't.
We sure are.
Here's a great book. I think we both recommend it.
Yeah.
It's still here on my bookshelf in my office.
It's the same guy that wrote. Same guy, Danny Mayer. Yeah.
Oh, it's the same author.
Yeah.
All right.
Unreasonable. I'm going to double check myself real quick. Oh no. Unreasonable is Will Guidara.
Okay.
But Danny Mayer and Will work together.
Right.
That's what it was.
Madison.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
For those listening that have no idea what we were just talking about there, the book Unreasonable Hospitality and Setting the Table by guys that run, 11 Madison Park, which is, a 5-star Michelin restaurant. It's #1 in the world. Just amazing what they've done through the years. And I have not eaten there yet, but it is definitely on my list. My wife is like, I'm not sure I'm going to spend that money. I'm like, oh, honey, yes, we are.
Given the chance.
Yeah, that's right. So now I've got 11 Madison Park and Bumpus on my list of, places I got to go and check out the eats.
Really the same breath, though. So
I was just going to say, I'm not sure we've been mentioned in the same sentence.
I'm going to get hate mail. I'm going to get hate mail for putting those two together. But at the same time, exactly. But at the same time, let's face it, it's yes, you're looking, you have a team today. How many people are on your team?
We have 28 employees currently.
Yeah. And, are you communicating how you want people to feel in your establishment? Are you, you're having these kinds of meetings that can, your backgrounds and the way that you've looked at your menu and what you've been, you can just tell that, the two of you have an aura of this is what we want. And so let's make sure that we're giving people exactly what we set out to do.
Mhm. Yeah. A big tenet for us is always quality of life and making sure Bumpa's is a great place to work. But when we need to change something or fix something, they know that we're not going to be playing around with it. So I think it helps that they see our faces all the time. They know that we're in this with them. And I think that goes a long way. The loyalty is earned, and I think their buy-in to what we're doing is earnest, simply by the fact that they see us in the trenches with them. And but yeah, Connor and I we demand a good deal of respect and make sure that our messages are received and that they aren't just forgetting it in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can tell when you walk through the threshold of any bar or restaurant. I think you kind of know intrinsically what your experience is going to be like, more or less. And, we want people to walk in and just feel good, right? Feel comfortable. And, I think we've worked really hard to cultivate that. And, maybe not day one because we had no staff and it was Dan and I waiting tables, but once we got there and we were humming, it just felt so good to see, our manager on duty running a good shift and our people having fun and smiling and our customers smile back. It happens all on its own. That's so satisfying.
Something we tell our employees is, this is your house. Bumpa's is your house. People are coming to see you. It's not the other way around. I want to make sure they know this is your place. You have to treat it that way, and you have to take ownership of your service, and also keep in mind that we've got your back no matter what happens. So it's I think it's paid dividends. We've really low turnover, knock on wood. So the team we have in place now has been there for a while. We've got a lot of veterans and in this business on our payroll, and it's really been a terrific experience.
Very nice. Talk to me about, the next 12 months. What are some of your business priorities? What would you say is your top 1 or 2 priorities over the next 12 months?
Oh, geez. Well, we certainly have, this is a big growth year for us. Again, we're entering into our 4th year. And, we really want to see, a certain kind of growth. I mean, we're already seeing it now. We're kind of ahead of our own curve, which is, super encouraging. So yeah, we have aggressive revenue targets. We absolutely, want to open, a second place one day. What that would be, whether it's Bumpa's again or totally different concept, again, that qualifies as one of those strategic decisions that we make together.
Sure.
That's as yet undefined, but I would love to say within the 12 months we're starting to have those conversations and have the war chest to go do it. So that's the dream.
Got it. What are the things getting in the way of that right now? If you look at what are the pains and frustrations of running a business day to day right now?
Cost of goods, our expenses, insurance costs, taxes,
Payroll
is such a huge thing. So it's tough to make. It's tough to find that windfall. And without going too into detail, Connor and I have made a lot of financial sacrifices to make sure that this had the runway to lift off and become something. And one day we're very confident we're going to be in that position. But as our dad likes to say, this is really the hardest way to make a living we could have chosen. So it's tough for me to look 12 months, every day being different, every month being different. I kind of tend to have a shorter view. But when we get together, it's always, that's always something we touch on. What is the future?
Yeah. And I think in our industry specifically, I mean, I don't want to speak for other industries necessarily, but since COVID, the cost is so variable. So it's incredibly hard to, predict what your costs are going to be, especially like, maintenance and support of, our assets. Something goes down, the walk-in goes down, there's $5,000 out the window that we were banking on having, for a different project the next month. So it's things like that just kind of can take the wind out of your sails. It's tough.
Yeah, torpedoes the whole thing when you have to fix a fridge or the air conditioner or whatever the case.
Or the city's plumbing problem.
Yeah. We won't go into that either, but
that's all right. That's all right. But I think, what you're saying is relevant for everybody. It's, you can make your best plan and everybody thinks, we're starting from zero and then it's this straight line revenue up to where we want to be. And the reality is there are so many things that it's like a roller coaster pulling you back and forth. So that's why I'm always talking about that vision. What is 12 months? I like to use a 10-year or a 20-year vision to say, what does the big dream look like? So that you've got that North Star pulling you to say, when we have the plumbing go off or the walk-in go out the door, we can stay focused on what is that 10-year vision of what are we really doing this for?
Right.
So I appreciate the fact that you guys, are in the thick of these things and the risk that you were willing to take and you put it, as your father said, it is the hardest way of doing those things. You both had jobs, corporate jobs, making nice, money. Family was probably pretty well set. And then,
insurance.
Yeah. And are you both married? I know, Connor. Okay. So let's talk about, what about your wives? You got to give a little shout out to the wives based on what we just talked about right now.
Yeah.
Joe, my wife, Connor points out he's known her longer than he hasn't known her in his life. So we've been together for a long, long time. This will be our 14th wedding anniversary this month.
Congratulations.
2 terrific daughters, and they are 100% supportive of this venture and all the hiccups and trials that come with it. There has never been a day where I haven't felt like they're on our side and rooting for us. And my wife completely understands when there's a late night or a few late nights in a row, and she just takes care of everything else for me. And I'm really blessed. She's just 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the restaurant business, bar business, it is not always easy. The hours can be a little crazy sometimes because, as they say, life happens, right?
Yep, sure does.
That's awesome. How about you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I talked a bit about my wife earlier, but same sort of deal. She's a therapist by trade and has usually always worked for a non-for-profit. So she's comfortable if we're operating in the margin somewhat. So also I mentioned, we've got a newborn kid, so life's been a little crazy these days, but just makes the successes, all better, really.
Your parents are in town.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. How often are they in the restaurant and the bar?
Dad comes in once a week. Sometimes they're out traveling, but if they're not doing that, he makes a point of coming in for his hot dogs.
Foot-long hot dog.
Yep. which is named
That's so funny that's what you said, because my father-in-law ran a restaurant here in Rochester, and his claim to fame is, I'm the one that brought the foot-long hot dog to Rochester, New York. Nobody had him before that.
Well, then maybe we owe him a debt. I don't know, but yeah, Dad loves his foot-long hot dog. We call it Pop's foot-long hot dog, and yeah, so he comes in once a week for that and a Guinness, which he swears is just as good as what you get in Ireland, and I agree.
Maybe a little colder.
Yeah, a little colder. But yeah, so he's in once a week, and Mom, like once a month maybe, comes down for dinner. Yeah.
Nice.
Large.
They're regulars. They have regular status. So
that's awesome. Talk about what else. I'm trying to. I have my normal questions for the multi-generational, families that have gone through transition and whatnot, but that's not, you guys. If you could, and I know it's hard to look at this, but when you started doing your business plan and started putting this together, was it just one restaurant, or was it always, we're going to have, what's the big dream that you guys had way back when?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I think it always started kind of like this. Like Dan's always said, like, how cool would it be if we owned a bar? Just full stop. How satisfying is that? But once we started building out, our business, and we got really serious about it, and put our business acumen to it. I mean, well, we built a profit model, and we're like, if all goes well, we could, build our own restaurant group one day, right? We have a holding company, under a different name for that very reason, right? We want another Bumpas. We joke this was actually published recently, but maybe it shouldn't have been. But we've essentially made a neighborhood Irish bar after our Irish grandfather Bumpa. Our other grandfather, Vittorio Emilio della Justina, bit of a different background. So we're like, how great would it be if we could have a trattoria, after Victor. So Victor's trattoria, we'll see. I mean, we both love Italian food too. My wife's Italian. That would be, I think, pretty fantastic. Not to say that there wouldn't be more Bumpas in the world, but yeah, I think a restaurant group would be amazing. Executive chef that handles all the menus, day-to-day manager, general manager, and managers on site. I think that's, you said 10-year plan. Hopefully it's not that long. But yeah, I think that would be, kind of the platinum reward at the end of all this.
What else? What haven't I asked you that others have asked you that that I'm missing on the boat here?
There was the question here, right? But what would you tell the world?
Oh yeah, what's the one thing you want the world to know about Bumpas? And I
go for it.
So I think we said we're your bar in Charleston. We've been compared to Cheers a number of times, whether
close to our heart.
Yeah,
right?
Whether in a review or somebody said something in an article, and we wear that like a badge of honor for sure. We want to be that place that knows your name, and I think over 4 years we've had quite a bit of people from out of town that feel like when they come back, they're in their place. And we even have a way to honor that with our wall of heroes.
Yeah, it really is just wood and brick makes up 99% of this building, and on one of our largest single surface wooden wall within the building goes around our kitchen. We have black and white photos from end to end. Started with photos of our family, obviously including Bumpa. But we encouraged our coworkers to bring in pictures of their Bumpa, whoever that might be, whoever their hero was growing up, and we extend that to our customers, certainly our regulars. But we joked earlier, we're like, if you walk through the threshold and you're friendly and we like you, you're invited to send us a photo of someone special to you, or a picture of your family, whatever it is. as long as it's black and white and fits in, we love it.
Yeah. So they'll email us these photos and we just print them out and frame them, and it's fun to see their faces when they come back, especially if they bring new guests. They come back, hey, I told you, there's a bar in here with my grandfather in there.
Yeah.
It's just, it's
cool.
neat to, it's neat to be able to call a place your own when you're in a different city. So that's I think what we want. Whether you're local or you're from out of town, we want this to be your neighborhood bar.
And whatever, if by God there's a second place, I think we still want that to be a tent pole of whatever business we roll out. We want people to feel that way when they come into one of our spots.
I love it. Dan and Connor Sullivan from Bumpas in Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you guys for sharing.
Thank you so much, Michael.
It was a pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening. My name's Michael Columbus from Family Wealth and Legacy, and you've been listening to the Family Biz Show. Can't wait to have you listen in on the next episode. Take care, everybody, and have a great day. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.